is that lens cool or is it not? If you're wondering why it looks a bit different, I changed lenses, or no, let me explain. I was too lazy to change lenses, and instead now I am telling you that story instead of just changing the lens. Usually I film my YouTube videos with a Sigma 24 mm f 1.4 blah 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 one, and this one here is a Tamron what is it, 24 to 70 mm or something. And I like to use that actually to film my reels and shorts and stuff because I can zoom in. But I thought let's try and film a regular YouTube video with that because I kind of like the style of that background thing, and then it's a little bit more me, so you can see a little bit more of my scabby existence. I'm sorry. The topic of the video, if you have never been here, is Controversy Friday. And on Controversy Fridays, we discuss controversial stuff. And with the launch of the Louis Vuitton makeup line, and I think I have to specifically say that because I feel like some people did misunderstand this. It's not Louis Vuitton x Pat McGrath. It's Louis Vuitton, well, you could maybe say by Pat McGrath because she's just a creative director. It's not her products or anything, it's the Louis Vuitton makeup, but since she is such a famous person in the makeup world, I think it's normal just to mention her name just together with that. But with the launch of this, I thought, well, that could be a really great time to just talk about pricing in makeup and how much is too much. And that is exactly what I ask you. Where's your line? Like, how much is too much for makeup? Do you specify that by brand, by product type, whatever? And if you want to participate in these videos, I think this is not the last for 2025. I'm planning to do a Controversy Friday in December for Alamis too. But basically this video, the question for these videos are always either in the YouTube community tab here and on Instagram with a question sticker on my story, so you can participate in that. And before we head into this, let me say a couple things. Number one, I don't fucking care how much money you spend on makeup because it's not my money, it's your money. And vice versa, I'm kindly asking you to not care how much I spend on makeup because, and here is now the magical info, it's my money, not yours. And I think this is something that a lot of people, they really need to be reminded of that. Like, I can criticize, of course, the fact that the Louis Vuitton makeup line is $250, and that is way too much for me. But I'm not judging people who buy this. I'm judging people who are reviewing this and saying, yeah, the price is so justified. That's just fake. But at the end, if you like that, and I have had some people contacting me saying, hey, I bought one of the lipsticks and I really like it. I'm like, that's so cool. Like, then you get something your money's worth. So that is absolutely fine. I'm just criticizing the fact that some people try to justify the pricing when it isn't justifiably. And usually we start with the Instagram answers and then with the YouTube answers. But this time we mix it up a little bit because I want to put a thought in the beginning of this video that was in the YouTube comments or in the community tab. And that is this comment by no other than Robert Welsh. And I want to start with this very interesting point here. Not really answering your question, but when I started working in beauty retail, the most expensive foundation we sold was £12. And that foundation went up in price every year and is now 34. The lipsticks were 9 and are now 25. So when we talk about pricing of makeup, I think it is very important to also think about the fact that prices exploded. That is just something that people sometimes also forget. And the price explosion is not only on makeup. Like, I was grocery shopping today, and For us too, it used to be, I don't know, depending on what I was planning to cook throughout the week, let's say a maximum of €80 a week. And then I was shopping for the good stuff. You know, I was not brand grocery owned brands. I was like the brands buying. Now everything like on a special discount, and not a lot actually, and I paid €155 for us too. Holy fucking cow. So yeah, I think that is a fairly important topic to start the video, that aside from the fact that we are dividing the makeup world into luxury slash high end and affordable, so let's just make that cut. There is also the thought that everything in makeup just has gone up in price so hard and heavy. Like NYX palettes in a drugstore. Some special edition palettes are sold at €50 here in Germany. €50 for a NYX palette? Like, no way. A Natasha Denona one, by the way, I'm going to use a Natasha Denona palette because so many people are bashing Natasha Denona here in this. But €50 for a NYX palette? I didn't even want to buy back then, when I was into drugstore, Maybelline palettes because they were $16. Because it's drugstore. I don't know what it is, but drugstore prices for me are in the range of, although we don't like them anymore, but Elf, Wet n Wild, Essence, Catrice. These are drugstore brands. And L'Oreal, for example, or L'Oreal owned brands, they're fucking pricey, let's just be honest. And I don't know, is NYX L'Oreal owned? I'm too lazy to Google now, but it has just gotten so out of hand with them. And since everybody and their mother needs to do a like special edition, blah, 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 and everybody has to do like collab makeup and certified licensed makeup collabs, like, no, just give us that palette and let us guess what's inspired by. I'm not willing, even if I was into drugstore makeup at all, I'm not willing to pay €50 for an 8-pan NYX palette, or I think it was a 10 or 12-pan even, but it doesn't matter. It's the thing that it's NYX, and it's €50. The palette, by the way, is the Natasha Denona Retro Glam today, because so many comments were just bashing on the Natasha Denona pricing and quality, which is surprising to me. By the way, this is actually the first time in a Controversy Friday that I will not be able to add all of your comments, so I had to choose some of them. But now let's head into the Instagram comments, and it starts with the first one that says, it depends on the product and brand, but I'm a cheap bitch and will always look for a sale code. Same. I have all motherships and I paid for none of them the full price. Like, none of them. Even I was even gifted, so that, okay, doesn't count, but no. For everything that I buy, I usually have a code, or I'm waiting for a code or whatever, but I feel you. I always try to avoid paying the full price for a product. It has to be something I really, really want. For example, I'm still debating with the House Labs contour sticks. I really want to have them, but they won't land here in Germany until October. And I have, because of the Sephora Unlimited program that we have here, a 20% discount. And I'm saving that 20% discount for when the House Lab stuff is coming. But at the same time, in my head, I'm like, but I really want to try this. So I would have to order this on the House Labs website, but they also raised the shipping. So it's now €37 for express shipping. And if I would take the free shipping option, it would probably arrive at the same time it lands at Sephora here. So I can actually wait another 4 weeks until it comes. But I feel you, always with the discount, always here waiting for a sale, waiting for somewhat of an offer. Yes, yes, and double yes. By the way, can you hear the rain? It's beginning of September and it's finally starting to hit the fall. So all in my head, I'm in the hoa 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 season. But now moving on to the next one. This one is, oh, I was reading this and I was like, yeah, I definitely include this. Brands could charge less if they stopped with the magnetic palettes and mirrors everywhere. And that is a true controversial take on this, I think. So, me, myself, and I. So we three. We do not need magnetic pants, and I am always annoyed when brands start to redo all their stuff with magnetic pants. But, and here's the big but, me, myself, and I, and you, and a lot of other people, we are surprisingly the minority. I remember that a year ago, maybe a year ago, I'm not 100% sure, that Blend Bunny, for example, was asking, hey, do you want to have magnetic palettes? It would cost a little bit more. I have to do some research. I remember that discussion on her Instagram. And then she now is starting to bring back palettes with magnetic pants, and people love this. People demand the magnetic pants. And I understand the thought process behind this because they can mix, match, and build and do the palettes just the way that they like. And I wish my brain could work the same way, but my brain would start a fire if I would depot my magnetic palettes and rearrange them. Like people who do like their own mix and match with all the Natasha Denona midis, praise you. You're the goat, you're the queen. I could never. But with the mirrors, I fully agree. I don't need a mirror on a palette because honestly, I can take these little shits with me everywhere. And would it really cut the costs? I'm not that deep into the manufacturing industry, but I could imagine that this could really help. But with the magnetic pants, while I, myself, me, myself, and I, we personally are not fans of magnetic palettes or magnetic pants. I don't need them. I don't want them. I see that this opinion in the community is actually the minority. And that people really, really love to do this and to build their own stuff. And I also don't think that everybody who says, yeah, but with magnetic pants, I will buy less. I don't think so because I know people who do live by that. And honestly, I'm so impressed by your will strength. But I also know a lot of people that they want to have the magnetic mix and match stuff, but then they, for example, mix and match only within the brand. So let's head to the next comment. Draw my line at the point when we know there no way. Okay, let's start again. I draw my line at the point when we know there's no way it costs that dollar even at the highest quality possible. Agree. I fully agree on that. Some, or in a lot of the cases, you are not paying for like good ingredients or like super special ingredients. You are paying 50% of the product's price for the brand name. That's it. Usually at $100 I tap out. That's fair, I think. It's not that bad of a price point to say, hey, that's like the line that I draw, and everything above that doesn't matter what category, what brand, whatever it is, I'm not willing to pay the price on. I think that's actually clever. Natasha Denona prices are too much. The YouTube comments also, I don't know if I have screenshotted all of them, but they're full. The community post is still up so you can read it. It's full of Natasha Denona bashing. And let's discuss this. I partially agree with that. But I think for the main part, I disagree with that. Or do I? So, these palettes here retail on Germany for $72.95 full price. I think they are a little bit less on the Natasha Denona website. I think they're only €69, and in dollar, I'm pretty sure it's $69. I do not think that her meaties are overpriced. If you are not a collector, if you collect makeup like me, I don't wear my glasses, but I think I have here, uh, I think 9 or 10 Natasha Denona meaties. And at least 3 of them, I could probably, when you lay them out in front of me without telling me the name, I couldn't tell the difference. But I want to say that again, the makeup community is just one bubble of this. I think the bigger part of the makeup market are people outside the online beauty community, and we should not forget them. But what I want to say is, I wouldn't say that they're technically overpriced with their newer products. With the bigger palettes that Natasha Denona had, and I'm looking for an eyeshadow pencil here. The big palettes like was it the gold one? The original gold palette, or what the one with 2 sides? They were $220 or so, and I think that is way too much. I mean, nowadays for that price you only get a quad, so when you put it in the relation to it, it's a good price point. But you know what I want to say? I wouldn't say Natasha Denona is that overpriced. It matches the current market very, very well. It always depends on what you want to have, so let's be honest, that's a big part of it. I guess the obvious answer is whatever is going on at Louis Vuitton. The thing is, with the quads and the lipsticks, it's just insane. It is just so insane, the pricing. I made a video just about the Louis Vuitton stuff over on TikTok where I just put my 2 cents into that. That video got clicked, I think, nearly 3,000 times now, and 30,000 times now. And most of the comments, they were basically agreeing on me that this is way too much. But I had comments defending this. And the type of comments that I got there, in my head, they were set in this tone. Yeah, this is just not your league, honey. This is the subtext that I got from these messages. Some were really neutral, were just saying, yeah, it's just not for everybody's price bag. Yes, absolutely agree. But still think it's overpriced. Doesn't matter if it is for my price class or not. And someone was like, yeah, but Chanel also has $160 lipstick. Ba 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 ba. Yes, but the Chanel ones, they came in a glass packaging. So if you know, it was, I think, this format in the Chanel lipsticks, but the whole component was glass. So honestly, this is somewhat of a collector's item, but the Louis Vuitton lipsticks, they look exactly like the L'Oreal Color Riche from the drugstore, and I think they cost 12 or 15 euro. So it's a tenth of the price. It's literally the same component. Yeah, I fully agree on that. Lip products that are over 30 euro, eyeshadow palettes over 100, and complexion over 50. That is a really well organized price point for you, and I'm very proud of you that you have this. I think that is actually a really good rule. And I do agree that, for example, over 100 euro for an eyeshadow palette, always depending, of course, on how big it is a fair price. Again, depending on the brand, depending on the amount of products. And for 100 euro, if we stay in mainstream brands, you can get a mothership from Natasha Denona on sale. So here we have a longer comment that consists out of multiple parts. So let me read that completely to you. I don't mind if indie brands charge a lot for house-made formulas, but I definitely side-eye when brands are obviously white labeling and charge a stupid amount. I kind of think that should be disclosed and not treated as if it's house-made. And this is a good thing to discuss because I truly believe that we should take this comment and this opportunity to discuss once again the difference between white label and private label. Commenter, please don't take this personal. This is not against you now, but I think this is just a great moment to bring the topic on here. I say that 90% of your indie brand formulas are not house made. And I am talking Bella Beauté Bar, Odin's Eye, what other indie brands? Nomad Cosmetics, Gloss Gods. I'm just looking over here at my shelf and look up some indie brands. Insert any indie brand you want. There are just a couple out there that have house-made, handmade formulas, like for example, Cleona has. White label would be, this palette here doesn't have a name on it. I just have the palette, I have the colors, I can look here inside, no labels on the shades, whatever. Then I buy this and I call it ELLAKINKLEY makeup. That's white label. I am buying a unlabeled, so that's why white label, palette, and put my label on it. I have no input in the formula making process. I have no input in the creative process, color story. I cannot give any input on how the palette is supposed to look on the outside, everything. I'm just buying the plain product and spit my name on it. Private label is what everybody is basically doing. There is a factory that is doing the formulas, the main formulas. And you as a brand, you can now say, hey, I want to have that basic formula with this, that, and this addition. You are deciding on the colors. You basically give 100% of the creative input, 100% of the directive input. You are just buying the formula. And that is private labeling. And that is absolutely fine. And private label is also not free. Private label is not anything less good than having a handmade formula. To be honest, if that handmade, house-made formula is not done in a certain specific sanitized environment, I'm not trusting this. Etsy is full of people that are selling their handmade glosses just because you can get some components for 5 cents on Alibaba or Temu or whatever, and then they just punch together like glycerin and aloe vera and then some pigments and they call it a gloss, but they literally mix it in their toilet at home. That's also house-made, but that's not good. Not good at all. But I think you know what I'm saying here. I don't know where this expectation is coming from that indie brands equals hand and house-made. That's not the definition. Indie brand means it's an individual owned brand. There is no big mother company behind it, like L'Oreal. So I have to admit that I don't think this is really fair towards indie brands. But referring back to the whole comment, then I fully agree. If this is really meant for the true white label, just as I explained, then absolutely yes. White label, drop shipping, this is just bullshit, bullshit behavior, bullshit tactic. So we're actually already heading into the YouTube comments, and before we do that, I want to say one thing. The YouTube comments this time, there were very, very long ones. So I highly recommend check out my channel, my community tab, and then see that question, because we have such amazing comments there that I was just not able to all include here. And one of the last comments, or I think the last one that I will tackle here, I only was able to screenshot certain parts of her comment, but she did so much great work into her research. So check the post out after the video. So let's go right in with the first one. It says, interesting question. I suppose it depends on multiple factors. We know that some brands will always overcharge, Dior, Chanel, Louis Vuitton, Hermes, because it's their pricing strategy. For me, it depends on the product and the brand itself. I can get very good eyebrow products at NYX and ELF, so that is one thing that I will never spend big money on. Same for a lot of products, to be honest. What annoys me the most is that since the big events of 2020, a lot of brands have been artificially inflating prices and doing the shrinkflation. I get that there were supply chain issues and such, but still a lot of the price increases don't sit right with me. On the other hand, my budget for makeup went down and I have no problem ignoring products that are out of my price range now, or just buying more selectively only the items that really spark my interest. I also think that a lot of brands take the constant sales into account and have factored this into their pricing. Most eyeshadow palettes are probably 20 to 30% more expensive than they need to be, and many people just wait until there's a sales event to get it with a discount, and then the discounted price is probably the price that it was going to be in the first place. Oh boy, this comment is so spot on. This is actually my theory that I had for the longest time with Pat McGrath. Because there is just no way this brand can be financially stable when they every other month are doing 40% sales. That is absolutely right, and the comment here is very, very, very spot on. And now I can't decide what foundation to use. Talking about Natasha Denona, let's use the new Natasha Denona High Glam foundation that I really like, actually. So this comment here was really, really well done. So really good thoughts. By the way, for those who can't wait until I do it in my speed reviews, I am wearing in the Natasha Denona foundation the RN1, and my reference shades are MAC NC10. I wear in Shanta Kai the shade Aura. With the Makeup by Mario one, I am in 1C. Let me pick some references here. Makeup Forever HD Skin, I am 1N00. In the Lisa Eldridge foundation, I am the shade 1. And the House Labs one, I now found out I'm better off mixing, and I'm currently mixing the shades 040 Fair Natural and 015 Fair Warm. So let's look at the next comment. For me, too much for makeup is when you are only paying the name for the brand. When the quality is lackluster, just okay or nothing special, when the package feels cheap or is dysfunctional, and when you need to make it work. Natasha Denona has always been praised, but personally I think is nothing special, especially nowadays. I told you. The thing is, I also do believe that brands like Natasha Denona, they just have a hard time in the market when there are just so many products out there that are equally or better, but at a better or equal price point. I personally like Natasha Denona stuff. Quality-wise, the biggest thing that I always criticize with her palettes is that there are just too many repeat shades in there. But overall, I think it's nice. And I don't know about you, but I know that I'll look a bit ghosty in the viewfinder at least. But wait until it's finished because it comes together. But I think these are also very, very good points. Yes. Especially packaging when we talk about higher prices, I think. And I said that a couple times already, but with high end, there are, in my opinion, two expectations. Expectation number one, I want to have a certain product quality. Expectation number two, I am buying an experience. That is literally what I buy. And one of these examples for high price in makeup and a bad experience is Mob Beauty. I'm sorry, but it cannot be the case that I pay 25 or 27 euro for a fucking lip gloss, and then it comes in a cardboard, which is bad in itself, but then it the whole time comes off. And here, especially for this gloss, okay, now the now the stopper is done, but the stopper is constantly coming off here at this. The eyeshadow palette from Mob Beauty that I have, the pans doesn't even hold in there because there is no holding mechanism. They're just pressed in and then you hope that they hold up by the pressure in itself. It's bad packaging, it's a bad experience, and the quad is 70 euros. So fuck me, but no way. I bought the new blush that they came out with, Monica, I forgot her name, but it's a red blush. Here, I think, and again, that is now a thing of product, the blush is 25 euro. I think the 25 euro are okay, but I still think that the packaging is shit, and I'm just missing the experience that I bought with them. For me, it depends on the brand and the product. I'm not going to pay 70 Australian dollars for a blush or lip product, but I will pay 130 Australian dollars for an eyeshadow palette if the color story draws me in and the formula is amazing. I expect to pay more for indie brands because they usually get their products made in smaller batches and even make their own products, press their own shadows sometimes. Yeah, valid. Shopping, however, is another story. If a brand is asking for 60 Australian dollars shipping, I won't, oh my god, I won't buy this unless it's something I really want. Feel you, I feel you so. Every time I film a talking hat video, I get hiccups. Every fucking time. How can I avoid this? And with the shipping costs here, oh, I totally feel you. Germans, Europeans, we just know the pain of shipping. As said, House Labs raised their prices for shipping to 37 euro, which is just insane. When I order at the Cleona website, the express shipping option is 60 euro. And that's why I definitely have to think about, do I want to really order on Cleona or do I not? I still have some open spaces in my Cleona palette. And I will only fill them once there are shades out there that I really, really want to have. And then I'm also willing to pay the price for the shipping. So here we have a longer one. I don't mind if I'm buying, say, the Dior foundation and have to pay maybe up to $150. But anything over that, I'm out. Dior isn't cheap in my country, so it's not surprising. But I do seriously overcharge. But I do think they seriously overcharge for what you get. Absolutely. Most of it comes down to paying for the packaging and name. I don't care for designer brands or the packaging unless it's a palette. Even then, I don't often have my palettes out on display. I do think that some of the drugstore prices here in New Zealand are seriously laughable and expensive. I am talking $50 for a L'Oreal foundation. I'm just taking the piss. What the fuck? That is not right, is it? Let me do the math here. So 50 New Zealand dollars to euro are, these are 25 euro. That is about up to 2.5 times more expensive than it is here. So for example, the True Match foundation here at DM is $9.95. Then I found the Infallible Wear on Douglas. It's 14 euros, so that is 2.5 times higher the price. Oh boy, that's a lot. Essence, Catrice, and NYX have become more popular due to not having hugely inflated markups on their products. Rimmel is also a great brand. I think Rimmel isn't even available here in Germany. I remember one of my first products was a Rimmel concealer, and then oh boy, do you remember that? The Rimmel Stay Matte powder. I loved that powder when I was able to get this. It was a great one. I refused to pay for fancy packaging. I did that once. I paid $70 for a Gucci lipstick. Sure, it's mental, but it sits in my drawer. It's a waste. Oh, that's actually sad. I forgot to mention that when the shipping is something ridiculous like 60 New Zealand dollar, they're not making me want to purchase the palette. There's so many indie brands that I'd love to purchase from, but due to shipping costs outweighing the makeup costs, I don't. I'm sure my fellow Aussies can attest to the shipping. Not only them, I tell you, it's also here, the European side. It's crazy, the shipping sometimes. And the thing is, I'm not shy on shipping costs. Like, I don't mind actually paying 50 euro for shipping When I then get what I paid for, and that is now a little bit of a slap towards some comments that I have gotten through the social media world when the Kaima situation blew up. Some people were saying that I am the bad girl. I am the one that kind of deserved this because I am crying over brands not delivering on point. And I think this is a good comment here just to step into this. Yes, I do, because I paid for the service. I pay €50, €60 for express shipping. Express shipping means the time from product is dispatched to product arrives at my house should be, according to the shipping thing they use, like most of them use DHL Express, maximum of 2 to 3 business days. Actually, 48 hours is like a very, very normal delivery time for DHL Express when you pay that much. But when I order at the brand and they dispatch the product on a Monday and I haven't received this on a Friday, I am sorry. No, then I am angry because I paid €60 for that service. And I don't know about you, but when you're a business, at least here in the EU, as long as a product has not arrived at the customer's house, you as a sender, you're responsible for the product. It's your fucking job to take care of this. But that's a whole different take here. Here we have a German comment, so let me translate that for you. I am okay paying the sum of X euro for a product, but that depends on different things. At first, the quality has to be there. For a really good foundation, I do spend 50, 60 euro. The older I am, the more I realize the differences in quality for my needs in skin. I am 59 and I have dry, sensitive skin. With foundations over 60 euro, I don't see a big difference that do justify the higher price point. Another point for me is if the colors are working. I have a cool pinky undertone, especially contour and bronzer are hard to find. I spend more money for failure purchases than, for example, on my favorite bronzer from Gucci. That is a good one. I do want to come back to this in a second. On top, makeup has to be fun. And fun for me is far away from overpriced goods. If someone does not want to sell me the lipstick, but they want to sell me the luxury feeling, it gets ridiculous. Interesting point. Oh, and the one important point is price and output can be right, but I'm not buying something just because Robert did a video about this. I assume that you mean in general that just because an influencer is doing a video on a certain product, you're still not buying this just because the influencer is saying that. Add one thought with the failure purchases. That is something very interesting that we also maybe should discuss, because especially from people who are trying a lot of makeup, who are looking for makeup, I think they can all agree with me on that when you just add up the money that you spend on product X to try out and to find the one that then works for you, you could have actually just bought the higher priced one. So for example, I have a amount of lipsticks that is in a 3-digit number. So I'm not making a secret out of this. I have over 100 lipsticks and lip glosses, like in general lip products without lip liners. And I just applied way too much blush. Oh shit, I forgot how pigmented this one is. So could I just say, hey, for the money that I spent on all these lipstick, I just could have gotten one high-end one. Yes, but, and here another part of that comment that I just read to you, makeup should be fun, and for me it is fun to collect things. I like to have the different choices. I like to just wake up or sit here in front of my makeup desk and say, hey, today I'm using, I don't know, the Lisa Ardrich lipstick, blah, 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 blah. And tomorrow I'm feeling not like that. Tomorrow I'm using it as a Maya lip lock. That is the fun part for me, so that also justifies it a little bit. Next comment here is from the beautiful account Imaginary Cosmetics. If you do not follow her on Instagram, please do it. She is designing these imaginary makeup palettes, and then she puts with her single eyeshadows palettes like that together, and then she does the looks and she really reviews them, and I absolutely love her take on this. And she writes, my limit is €20 for a makeup item. I don't buy palettes. That's why she doesn't. But it also depends on the product. Spending 50 to €20 on a multi-chrome eyeshadow is easier to justify than just spending the same amount. On the nude lipstick, I use up in 1 to 2 years and then need to repurchase. The most expensive product that I probably ever bought is a MAC lipstick, but I waited for a sale and had a gift card. Great. I watch a lot of American creators and I understand why they tend to prefer high-end, but I don't think the difference in Germany between drugstore and high-end is that big. We can't return used makeup anywhere and we can swatch the drugstore. Tests are often maintained better at the drugstore than at my Sephora, in my opinion. Which seems to be the main reasons why people seem to prefer high-end in the US, apart from formula and packaging. I don't know where you live, but in Germany, you can return used makeup, of course. It's a law thing here. You are allowed, according to the so-called Fernabsatzgesetz, that with any online purchase you do, you have the right to return it in a window of 14 days. With like hygienic goods, like makeup, for example, there are some specific rules. But for example, with Sephora and Douglas and whatever, I never had a problem returning them. But if you use up, of course, the product in a week and you want to try to return like half of the lipstick, they will not take that back, obviously. But in general, it's a little bit of a misconception. We can return used makeup here. That is right. But it is a big difference if you bought the stuff in store or online. That is the biggest difference. With anything but eyeshadow and mascara, I also try to swatch it before buying to see how the color translates on me. I have 2 drugstores within walking distance, while I would have to take the train to a Sephora or Douglas, so it's easier to swatch drugstore items for me. The color selection of blushes and lipstick in drugstore also works better for my taste in makeup. Oh, that's awesome. Especially the cheaper brands like Essence, Catrice, or trended up to offer, tend to offer some funkier shades like cool tone pinks and that actually read pink on me instead of red or orange or weird purple, while most high-end shades are too warm toned for me except for MAC. That is also very important. Sometimes you maybe don't have the choice on what you want to use. So you are, maybe because you don't like to shop online or it's just more comfortable for you to go in stores, you are forced to do it like that. And it's also very fine. And she also pointed out a really important thing, and that is colors. It doesn't matter at the end what brand you use, what you prefer, what price tag it has, because it also comes down to, is the color working for me? When I used to be blonde, I was always looking for a grayish, cool-toned taupe eyebrow pencil for my white hair. And the drugstore was not able to offer it. It was just not there. The most perfect taupe color that I always had was Anastasia Beverly Hills in taupe. No other brow product in the powders or in the pencils or pomades or whatever were able to match this level of cool tone on my brows then. So I was kind of forced to use always the Natasha Denona Brow Wiz for $20. But I also have to admit, I never went through these brow wizzes like other people. Like, my brow wizzes stayed up to 9 months. I don't know what other people were doing with them when they were saying like, oh my god, I go through a brow wiz in a month. Like, what the fuck, are you eating them? What's wrong with you? By the way, are you able to see the glitter on my under eyes when I move my head? Because this is a setting powder that I bought. And I didn't read the fact that this is glittery. And I cannot stop using this as under eye setting powder because it gives my under eye a moist look. It looks wet, as if there are droplets of water on. And I absolutely love this. But it is definitely something that you need to be open for. And I don't think that people really recognize this unless they are very, very close to you. It's the ML Smile setting powder in pink. It's a C Beauty brand. I started indie makeup during the pandemic. Earlier in my life, I was more interested in shoes and hair and didn't spend a lot of money on makeup. In 2020, €30 was a lot for a really good eyeshadow palette. Today, I think indie branded eyeshadow has completely gone out of control. Paying 80 to €120, then shipping, VAT, and fees if they come from a country outside the EU for a palette is crazy. I don't know if it's us consumers or if it's the creators who have promoted the palettes, talking about indie brands, that have caused the price so much, or if it's the combination. However, it feels like many creators are just looking to sell the products and rarely address the disadvantages. Something that is not addressed by more than a few creators is that the special shadows are often difficult to use or don't work on mature, hooded, or wrinkled eyelids. I felt incredibly cheated for a long time when this wasn't talked about. I bought expensive, beautiful palettes from, for example, Bella Beauté Bar, and I couldn't get them to work. I started to think that it was my knowledge and technique, but I was wrong. It makes me actually really, really sad that you experienced this, because I think that the beauty community should be the place for such things. The beauty community is the place where you can find your skin. You will find someone on the internet that represents your skin, that represents what you are maybe struggling with in a makeup technique, that shows the same exact wrinkle maybe that you have, and that is just incorporating it. The internet has so much to offer, and when I was outside of the creator part and I was just a regular consumer of content, I know exactly what you feel with this. You feel cheated. I made the same experiences with a lot of stuff, and I still do sometimes, but I just learned that there are certain creators where I can fully enjoy their makeup techniques, their looks, but I will never ever trust their swatches because they enhance the colors. And I don't like that. I want to differentiate here. There are swatch content creators who make aesthetically pleasing, ethereal looking swatch videos. These are, for my opinion at least, just for the aesthetics. But if I want to make a reflected purchase, if I want to be a bit mindful of what I buy, I want to see real swatches. I don't need the shishi lights. I don't need the reflective overhead lighting. I don't need the spotlight on stuff. I think the main or like the biggest aha moment I had was with Lethal Cosmetics when they brought their, oh boy, the metals or crushed metal line. I don't know. They had a line of 9 or 10 or whatever single eyeshadows that were inspired by the look of certain metals. And one of them was Bismuth, and Bismuth was supposed to be a grayish silver holographic shade. And oh my god, these swatches from Lethal Cosmetics, so good. So beautiful. I was like, I need 8 of them. And then I got it, and it was the driest, worst pressed glitter shit shadow I have ever used in my life. There was no holographic sheen to it, none of the effects that I saw online, and that was the moment that I learned that there is something such as low light photography and low light videographing. I felt betrayed because usually the Lethal Cosmetics stuff was always quite well represented in their swatches. Even their multichromes and duochromes, I always had a similar, if not even the same, outcome of their shadows when I swatched them. But with this collection, I learned about low light cinematics. I think when Bismuth came, I already made content, but not on YouTube, I think. I think I was only on Instagram back then, but I'm not 100% sure. But the feeling that you describe here, this feeling of being cheated, this, I don't see real content creators, real reviews anymore, just sell, sell, sell. That's the reason why I started, actually, because I feel the same. And I'm not saying that I will not sell things because I have codes. Yes, I have to finance this hobby at some point or in some way. But you know me, I don't sugarcoat shit. That's not my type of content. So, moving on. Because this comment here actually has a second part. So, nowadays there are very few creators I trust and my purchases of eyeshadow palettes have decreased drastically. Do we really want to have so many special shadows in the palette? Can't we do that Blend Bunny did with Trova palette, for example, and sell the special shades on site? Can you please stop shooting at my Trove drama, because this palette will never come back and I have it and I cherish it, and please, Blend Bunny, bring them back. Today I prefer to look for a palette that contains a maximum of 1 to 2 special shadows and then have a nice and really good regular shimmers and above all really good matte shadows. These palettes are also significantly cheaper. I prefer to use a really good shimmer shadow or a duochrome over a multi-chrome or holographic shadow. I might use special shadows once a month. Oh, okay, interesting. And I'm here like, I love palettes with all special shades, but again, preference, very important. Another question I have is, do they have to be magnetic? I don't know anyone who changes their palettes and takes out the shadows because they are not marked underneath. So how can you put them back in the same place in the right palette? Love that, because this is exactly the problem that I have too. This makes both the palettes more expensive and very heavy, so it is not something I would take with me if I travel, even though I like to have many choices. That is why it is rare that I buy a magnetic palette per se now, as more and more become magnetic, so I probably won't do without them in the future. Regarding other makeup, I spend money on a good foundation, concealer, powder, and mascara. Other few products are often budget, as I like to use or try different brands and consistencies. These I rarely use up, and then I think is a waste of money to spend $45 on, for example, a blush if it's not my favorite one. These are just some of my thoughts on the subject. These are wonderful, great thoughts. I really love your take on these. I've made a few exceptions, but €100 for a single item is my maximum limit. I try my hardest to wait for sales so that things don't get close to my price limit. I'm most willing to spend a lot on eyeshadow palettes. Next prices things would be foundations and setting finishing powders. When it comes to blushes, bronzers, and highlighters, I don't like spending over $50. My willingness to spend a lot depends on whether it's a brand that tends to make my favorite formulas, or I feel certain the product will become a holy grail. As an example, the most expensive foundation I ever bought costs €58, but it was the number one, the Chanel, on sale. It's my favorite foundation, even though the shade match isn't perfect. My favorite shade is actually exclusive to the Chanel website. I hate when this happens. Why are you doing... Like, I get it with blushes. Like, this blush shade is exclusive to the website. Yes, okay, do whatever you want. But a fucking foundation? Come on. What is that exclusive with a foundation shade that you need to make it exclusive to the website? Like, is it alien green? Does it have scales in the formula? What's wrong with you? That is just so dumb. Very soon after I finish this foundation, I'm going to have to decide whether I will repurchase it from a retailer's sales and get the same shade, or if I'm willing to pay the €16 extra to get my better shade. I probably will, and it hurts me. Feel you. Conversely, I refused to spend a lot of money on brow products and eyeliners. Everything I bought was under $12 because they were either from drugstore brands or during Ulta's 50% off beauty steals when I lived in the US. I wanted to clarify that I have a price limit, but it doesn't mean I allow myself to buy anything I want that is under the price. For instance, I want to try other Chanel foundation formulas. However, my shade is across all formulas exclusive to the brand, which means no sales. Oh my god, Chanel. Come on, really? I hate not being able to get a discount, especially when I see how much lower the prices are from retailers instead of the official website. The fact alone has kept me from buying more. I feel your pain so much. I hate this a lot when this happens, especially with foundation and concealer shades. Like, what's wrong with you, honestly? By the way, I have been now finally cracking into a new brow pencil. This is the Glossier Boy Brow Arch. And I don't know if I really like the pencil or not. It's okay, but the shape is a bit weird, and I have good and I have bad days. I won't spend more than $55 on a palette, which makes some brands completely inaccessible to me. It stinks because I love indie makeup. I have broken my rule a few times in the past, but regretted it. I own close to 200 palettes and 1,000 eyeshadow singles too, by the way, but a lot of it was bought prior to all the price increases. Thanks for not making me feel alone, because I have over 200 eyeshadow palettes. I'm not ashamed here. But I do like your, I'm not buying over X dollar for one palette. I kind of like that. I have a large indie palette collection, about 200 palettes. I don't mind paying a little more because of the special shades. I have some that are under 50 and a few that were around 100, but most of mine are about 70. I have really slowed down on buying because I have most shades in my collection, but I don't buy the luxury brands at all. They seem boring and overpriced to me. My highlighters are indie also, but my face makeup is drugstore. I don't spend over $10 on powders, foundation, or mascara. I just want to say I've been with you for a few hours now, and I'm happy that your following is so growing. Thank you. I totally trust your reviews. Most of my C Beauty purchases were because of you. A few hours. Was that a typo? I don't know. But thank you very much. That is very flattering, and I feel very, very blessed that I'm able to do this here for you all. I do want to say that I really, really like your take here on makeup, that you say my big, my focus is definitely eyeshadow palette, but I do not spend the money on anything else than that. So that's cool. That's really, really strong of you. I think another very interesting take delivers this comment here. For me, it depends on the product and my ability to find a comparable product for less. By comparable, I mean they look as good and don't take more effort on my part to do so. I adore brands like Lisa Eldridge, House Labs, and Fenty. However, I can find products from Wet n Wild, Essence, and NYX that look just as good and are much nicer to my bank account. Until my country gets shit together economically, I won't spend more than 20 to 25 US dollar on a product. I love your take with the comparability. That's actually great. That's genius. Cool. I learn so much from y'all when I do these videos. We're actually already at the last comment that I screenshotted, because this last comment is by a good friend of mine. And she, you know, when I ask you to do this for the Controversy Fridays, she goes into depth. Like, she clicks out of the internet for 2 days, does her research, and then comes back with a novel of a comment. And I was not able to actually screenshot the full comment on this, so these are just a couple parts of her comment. I can just recommend you go to my YouTube community tab and then go to her comment. It is one of the newer ones as of today. I try if I can pin it on the community tab, but I'm not sure if this is possible to pin there. But her comment is very, very good, so I screenshotted a couple parts. But before I go into that, I'm gonna quickly finish the face. Alright, all that is left now are lips, but I will dive into the comment first. My friend here, Strange Quacks, her name here on YouTube, go to the community tab. Let me just tell you that and read her whole comment. It's so good. So I screenshotted a couple things. Buckle up, Buttercup. I've always asked myself why a kajal is priced at €1 and another one at €40. Same for other products, but let's stay with wooden kajals right now. Oh, this is going to get great. I'm simplifying here a lot and rounding the numbers. This will be a little novella anyway. And as kajal pencil, not eyeliner, as commonly a liquid is referred to as eyeliner and the pencil styled ones are the kajal where I'm from. Also, both are named by the distribution companies as kajal. So we are basically talking about these here. And she is specifically talking about the Victoria Beckham ones. Okay, let's start. The €1 kajal is from Essence and the 41 from Victoria Beckham in this example. So one lower end drugstore, like very low end drugstore, and one high end / luxury. Production country. The Essence kajal is made in Brazil, thus has lower labor costs, probably subsidies, lower tax etc. and in batches that probably are in the hundreds of thousands as they are sold worldwide. The Victoria Beckham kajal is made in Germany. Oh my god, they're made in Germany. Really? The, wait, let me grab one. The Charlotte Tilbury lip pencils are also made in Germany. We make good makeup. So Victoria Beckham kajal is made in Germany under strict labor and quality laws, high minimum wage and skilled trained certified workers. The batches are smaller, rather estimated 10k than Essence 100k, thus higher labor costs, higher taxes and higher site costs. So from the plain production of the product where it's made, the price reflects that part already. If we then check the wooden shell, so we're going really deep into this, we'll see a very significant difference. Essence can get splinters when sharpening because of the low quality wood pulp pressing is used for the shell, while the Victoria Beckham kajal sharpens smoothly without splintering since a very high quality wood pulp is used here with added ingredients for stability and flexibility. Higher quality wood pulp uses wood that is by nature often used a tree already higher and finer quality, then gets milled to be very fine and then mixed and pressed into blocks. Those are then cut and prepared to the shape needed. Lower quality uses coarse wood pulp from mixed trees and is milled the extra mile to be fine. The pressing is also not perfect, resulting in a looser material stability. That part plays a big role in the pricing too. The Victoria Beckham needs higher quality blocks that are made with a lot of labor and a lot of expertise, while the Essence uses blocks that are of lower quality wood and can be made by not so skilled workers. Thus, the blocks for Victoria Beckham cost a lot more than those for Essence. Now, to the core of the kajal itself, the wood is just the hold of the material. The core is made out of very similar ingredients. Its purpose is the same, but they are very, very different composed and have a very different effect. With the Essence kajal can use a generic recipe for the core. It also has to be thicker, harder composition in a bit to work well with the more coarse wooden holding material. More wax in the base is the better option for this. A soft core and coarse lower quality wooden shell. A soft core in a coarse lower quality wooden shell will not work nicely. The core will break and the shell will splinter when sharpening, resulting in a barely usable product. Then I skipped a couple parts. You pay for the presentation, the feel, the ease, the formula, the quality, and extra. And the person representing the brand, Victoria, is still a superstar like luxury brand. She has an image that she carefully curated. You pay for that too, for the fantasy, and also has one to take into account if one wants to pay the workers fair wages, buy cruelty-free, etc. This is just a basic example of how different price points oppose each other. No one is per se worse or better. It always depends on what you, the person using, wants. I like essence kajals for the lower price point, throwing them into any bag, using them willy-nilly, even to draw whiskers on my niece's faces. I like the hardness and that they can be sharpened to a point that hold up. Get a good quality sharpener, really invest in it and change the blade. And that is a really good tip. Thus, I can draw a thinner liner, very precise, very close to my lashes. But since I don't like the shift to the braids of production, since Poland raised their minimum wage, I'm looking for a dupe for my favorite essence kajal that is produced in the EU. I'm in a position where I can pay a bit more so the workers can eat well, have good healthcare, safe work environment, etc. There is even more to that comment. So I just wanted to give you these little examples out of her comment because I think this is very, very important too. We do often just talk about the product, but we barely talk about where's the product actually in. And that circles back to what I said in the beginning. I do think that the Louis Vuitton lipsticks are on the same cheap plastic component as the L'Oreal Color Reach lipsticks, with slightly differences. I don't think this is okay to charge 27 euro on a lip gloss that comes in a fucking cardboard. Or 70 euro on a quad where the pants don't hold up in that cardboard. At the end, and she said it here also very, very well, it all depends so much on what are you willing to spend. Do you want to spend 40 bucks on a kajal, for example? Do you want to spend 25 euro on a lip liner? Or is the 10 euro lip liner from Sephora also okay? Do you want to spend 100 euro on a concealer? Or are you okay with a 5 euro essence concealer? None of it is worse or better than the other option. Everything comes down to your personal preference and what is just important to you. Makeup is as personal as underwear. Everybody prefers different shapes, different sizes, different materials, different feelings on their skin, and that is absolutely fine. So I am very, very happy that we had this cool conversation here. I think the whole conversation was absolutely mind-blowing for me. I learned a lot of your preferences, a lot of how you choose what makeup to buy and what not, and I respect that a lot. Talking about good makeup quality, my Lisa Aldridge lipstick just broke off. What the actual fuck? So I think we can all agree on the fact that makeup and the amount of money that you spend on makeup is super duper personal. And I don't think that us discussing this or someone saying, yeah, but I'm not spending this money so that they will stop charging the money. They will not. There is for every product, for every price range, for everything, there will be a group of people that make this business decision worth it for the brand. So I personally here, I am thankful for the fact that we have so much to choose from. I am thankful for the fact that I can decide, do I want to spend 1 or 2 euro on a lipstick, or do I want to spend 50 euro on a lipstick? Do I still think that brands are overcharging? Absolutely, yes. And it would be naive and dumb to just say, yeah, but that Gucci lipstick is definitely worth the money. It's not. It's 100% not. I think they still would make a good margin if they would sell this for 35 instead of €50. But you pay for the name. Same as with certain clothing. It's just the same. I think with this topic, there is absolutely no right or wrong. There is no price side is better than the other. No makeup is better than the other for everybody. It's very, very personal. And if you prefer the drugstore option over the luxury high-end option, that's awesome. But I prefer the luxury and high-end option, and that is also awesome. So let's just celebrate awesomeness that we have so much choice. Thank you so much for participating in this video. This was a really, really cool topic. And if you have a topic in mind of the Controversy Friday for the last of this year, so in December with Alamis, then please put your suggestion down below. I do have an idea. I maybe want to talk about limited editions. Kind of feel like that could be a cool topic. But if you have any other ideas, put them down below. Even if I don't use them through Alamis, I do want to continue the Controversy Fridays in 2026. So share your thoughts, we can discuss them. I will now try to find out how I can repair the lipstick. And before that, I have to cry on Instagram about that. So thank you so much for watching. Make sure to subscribe to miss out any of the other upcoming videos. And I'll see you very, very soon.